What's cracking, guys? Omar Isaf here, Agony for Ecstasy, back with another video. In this video today, I'm going to talk about the problem with online coaching, or where I see a disparity between information with regards to different coaches. Before I go on, I should say yes. Now, at this point in time, we do have myself, Sound Mike, Bart Kwan, something called Kaizen Training, where we do online training. So I'm not trying to throw everything under the bus. I fully recognize there's inherently some problems with online coaching. I'm talking about the prevalence of novelty information or not having a certain amount of practical experience in the trenches coaching people in person, and how that could potentially be a problem. You see, I got to give Scott Herman, I'm shouting him out, he had a video where he was demonstrating actually a bicep exercise, but then he's talking about exercise selection and what he sees on Instagram, and once again that gap between an actual coach who has years of experience coaching someone in person and then someone who tries to think of something to make them stand out, a novelty exercise. So he used the example of, for triceps you want to focus on big compound movements. I agree with 95% of what Scott says, where he said, dips, close grip bench press. If you're going to do a tricep isolation movement to work all three heads, something along the lines of a skull crusher, and how you'll see all too often as the main movement, someone will talk about, a behind the neck or behind the back, one arm tricep extension, and just simply put the load being the main variable there that you can't really increase. And so how it's not a great main movement, but that immediately, if you're coaching people in person and you see those takeaways, what they, how they respond to what you say, how they respond to the movements that you give them, how you coach someone over a period of 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and you see their body either transform or don't transform, and how that's integral to form the basis of your coaching experience. So online coaching removes that separation between client and coach. And so I think most effective online coaches actually have a wealth of in-person experience, because there's so many variables that can't be translated online. And we have this wealth of individuals who are now just jumping from being influencers to being online coaches, and they don't have that practical experience, and it shows. And it could take the form of either their dieting experience, where they'll give people needlessly restrictive diets. They don't focus on adherence. Adherence is the path that the person, I used to call this when I would coach in person, the path of least resistance. How can we get you to your goal with the least amount of problems? Where there be maybe dogmatic too. I've noticed that, where people will find one thing, or it'll be an identity. I'm the keto warrior, you must be keto. And we have all these factions, and I just worry that people aren't getting the results that they should. You see, before actually doing YouTube, I have been a trainer now for about 10 years. I'm not saying I'm a fantastic trainer, but I have coached a shit ton of people, and you do see certain things over time. Coaching cues, that's actually why I think, and I give individuals credit like Alan Thrall, actually, Eric Helms. I see that the coaching touch, as I call it, is very much still in their videos and in what they say, the practical experience, because they're still rooted in the trenches where they're coaching people, maybe not day to day for Alan and Eric, but they see people in their gyms, in their facilities, and they're able to draw upon a wide array of experiences in order to give the best advice. Because if you don't have that experience, you come up with an exercise, you come up with a program, you think, it's good, and you just tell someone to do it, you don't get that instantaneous feedback, right? If I give a coaching cue in person to someone, so a deadlift tip, let's say I want them to stop rounding their back. And I say, okay, so we want to think that your hips are sitting back when you do the deadlift, and they don't immediately respond to that cue. I see that. For someone just coming up with some cues or coming up with an exercise, not vetting it out. So there's that process of vetting that occurs in person, and then you notice a lot of different things. It helps you, I think, as a coach, be more cerebral, right? Where you're thinking about multiple variables. When you have that separation, you don't see that instantaneous feedback, and you can't learn from some of your mistakes. So I think a big problem I've been seeing, I've been trying to analyze some of the information I see out in the fitness industry, things that I like, things that I don't like. I already talked about Eric Helms, I spoke about Alan, Scott too. Scott clearly was a trainer for a while, where a lot of his advice is rooted in the practical takeaways. I see the emergence now, which is what he was referring to, Scott, in his video, of online coaches. So you go from basically training yourself, so your sample size is N equals 1, maybe training your bro, and you're like, this worked great for me, right? And then you try and take that online because you've built up a presence, so you're an influencer now where you have a certain amount of following, people like your physique, they want to try and get it, and then as a result of that, you're like, you know what, do exactly what I did. So I think unless we're aware of this fact, we'll just perpetuate it further. And so as coaches, as consumers of information, we should always just be wary. And that's why you can never do with enough information, right? You can always do with more. You can always try and inform yourself. And if you're trying to be a coach, I highly recommend, even to this point in time right now, I've stopped coaching people in person, charging money. But there's still probably a handful of people at Fortis here that I'll give programs to, that I'll give technique cues, because I want to remain sharp. I want to remain in that mindset. And I think once you remove that, the practical component, it shows. You get either one, rusty, or two, you don't even have that experience in all your programming and all the advice you give. It kind of shows where you have that chasm. Anyways, just thought I'd make this video, not really a response to Scott's video, but talking about something similar where I've noticed it too. We've both been on YouTube now for probably honestly about a decade, so we've seen numerous trends. Just stay educated, stay informed. Don't do your calves. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, if you thought to yourself, damn, that's a big bottle of water. Thanks, Sean, for giving us this bottle of water. Like the damn video, and I'll see all you guys, my rascals, in that next video. Peace.
Eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables, eat your fucking vegetables.